I don't get irrationally angry. I get rationally angry, but I don't get irrationally angry. So when I'm irrational about something, I pay attention.
Hey guys, my name is Katie Enterkin, and I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to unveil what I like to call the beautiful beast that already lives inside us all. And welcome to the podcast about everything and a little bit of nothing. I've had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora, I love big words, a myriad of experiences just being a human and existing. These are real conversations with real people, getting to know each other, sharing stories that make us cry, and occasionally pee our pants with laughter. We talk about all kinds of life stuff: parenthood, business, life goals, fitness, chasing your dreams, and yes, even some animal noises are involved. For more information, keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, I got to hang out with a life coach in my coaching community who specializes in the topic of mom guilt. Oh man, that's a big one for me. Her name is Alysia Lyons, and she helps women pretty much to tame the mommy guilt that most moms carry. I almost feel like this episode was a personal coaching session for me, and I know that if you are a mom, most likely you will relate to 98.345% of our discussion. Alysia also has a new book out called Good Moms Don't: Lies, Truths, and How to Conquer Mom Guilt. As always, I hope something lands with you today. I hope something you hear tugs on your heartstrings, and or I hope you laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am with Alysia Lyons, and we met in class. Meaning we sat next to each other once at what was that called? Sean's thing. Foundations of Marketing.
ECCP. No. Oh, Foundations of Marketing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
But it wasn't. Was it? It was speaker training.
It was...
Foundations of Marketing.
No, it was Foundations of Marketing. Because that was the first course I ever took with him. And I live like an hour away from Moore Park where he lives. So we sat next to each other, and then you had to leave early. And then both of us the next day couldn't make it live.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's who I'm with. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are?
Who am I? I'm Alysia.
Hi, Alysia.
My tagline is that I'm a mom and a business owner and a life coach and an author. So I wear many hats.
Yes.
Passionate about helping women from the inside out.
I love it. That's awesome. So you have a book that recently came out, right?
I do.
And it's called Good Moms Don't... ... I haven't read it yet, but I already bought my copy. I can't wait to read it. So can you tell us what that's about?
I can. So it's Good Moms Don't: Lies, Truths, and How to Conquer Mom Guilt. And it came about because I was suffering from mom guilt and didn't know it. It can be sneaky. It's little things, like saying no when you want to say yes and saying yes when you want to say no. And my son was in a situation where his babysitter was inappropriate with him, and I felt super guilty about it. And I remember I was going to this event for life coaches, and I texted my coach on the way. I was like, I think I found something that I feel guilty about. Like it was, I noticed my behavior when this up. I'm pretty even kill. I don't get irrationally angry. I get rationally angry, but I don't get irrationally angry. So when I'm irrational about something, I pay attention. What just happened? What created?
Yeah.
And so we were at the doctor and they wanted more information about this situation that happened 3 years ago at that point. And I was like, so I have to wait around here for you guys to get your act together. Oh, sorry, we're allowed to cuss. So you want me to stay
Yes, you're allowed to cuss.
Stay here and say, while you guys get your shit together, and for something that happened 3 years ago, and you like, I have to relive it. He has to relive it. No, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I text my coach and I said, I think I have something I feel guilty about. And so I knew that they would need volunteers, at the event for, what do you feel, who has some guilt? And even in that moment, when the question was asked, who has some guilt? I didn't raise my hand because it was like I did not want to address it. And so she went around the room asking what people feel guilty about. And I was the last person. I finally raised my hand and I said, I let someone hurt my son. And I chose those words very purposefully because I knew saying it that way would put me into like the guilt of it, because that's how I was feeling. And since I had all these layers of protection up, like that was how I had to say it to bring it out. And I watched the coach, she like almost fell over when I said it, and just how hard that hit her. And so we went through this eliminating guilt process, and it changed my life. Like you can't even begin to understand until you've experienced the freedom of not feeling guilty of something that you were beating yourself up for 4 years. So that's kind of where the book came from, to answer your question. It's about, so I started doing interviews with moms, because my niche is we call it our seeker.
Yeah.
Is our moms. And so I was interviewing moms and I kept hearing the guilt in their language. And so each of the women that I interviewed, I was listening for what they were feeling guilty about. And I just wrote chapters based on those guilt things.
That's cool. I'm really excited to read it.
Yeah, and how to overcome it.
Oh yeah, that I am currently in, I haven't had any coaching or anything with my mom guilt, and it's an ever-present issue with me still. So that's why I was like, I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Absolutely. Pick away.
Yeah. Well, my thing right now is, well, there's a lot of things right now, but it's I'm working full time now, and there's that guilt. But when I wasn't working, I was feeling guilty for not contributing to family finances. So I feel like it's been like a lose situation, no matter how I look at it. But one thing that I can identify is that mom guilt is not really real guilt. It's just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's a thing that that I'm kind of sarcastic when I talk about it. It's like mom guilt just is like, it's not something. Yeah. I'm a mom and therefore I feel guilty now. Like that's what I live with. Mm-hmm. And it's not that way. One of the things that Sean talks about, Coach Sean Smith.
Yeah, my listeners at this point know who he is.
They know who he is. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
One thing that he said recently on one of his videos was he talked about reframing, and that's where we have a memory from the past and we're holding on to it a certain way. Mm-hmm. And then a coach can help you reframe it and see it in a different way. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And we do that for the past so that in the present, we can notice it and make changes for the future, and have abilities for the future. So I don't believe that it's possible to stop mom guilt from happening. Like, something's going to happen. A friend of mine was trying to give some negative reinforcement about her daughter putting her mouth on the bathroom sink. Germs, don't do that. She kind of swatted her on the head, and her daughter hit her head on her mouth on the sink. You know, little bruise, and she just felt so guilty about it. And I understand that, especially knowing, you know, about her mom and how her mom used to swat her all the time, and she's trying to be like her mom. But the intention was pure. The intention was, I don't want my daughter getting germs from the sink. I'm going to give a little bit of negative reinforcement. And it worked just a little bit more than she anticipated. You know, but I feel like we went off on a tangent, and I don't know where
Tangents
but, you know, I don't know. How do we get back?
I think another thing that I struggle with is that I actually talked about this with Sean, is before I had kids, I was like, I'll be a great mom. I'm like the most patient person in the world. And it's like, these kids, they just, like, all that patience I had, I don't want to say it's gone, but when I scream at my kid at least once a week, it's like right after I scream at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a piece of shit. I never wanted it to be this way for him, because I don't know. Like, what would you say to other moms that are struggling with screaming at their kids because they just snap?
I'm in a position as a parent where my son is old enough now that I can explain to him what happened. So, and I don't know that 3 years old is too young for this to start, but so there's a couple of things. I think that when we're holding in a lot of emotions, whatever the emotions may be, guilt might be one of them. When we're not having our needs met first, we are more likely to lash out. One of my favorite authors is Rachel Hollis, the girl wash your face girl.
Oh, I just got chills. She's my favorite.
I know. I was listening to her earlier this week, and when I listened to this video of hers, I was cleaning and like making everything all night. Like, I was so productive that day. It was great. But she talks about filling your vase. And so a lot of people fill your cup. Another analogy is the mask from when the airplane is going down, like, put your mask on first.
Yeah.
Others. And the thought behind all that, or the logic behind all that, is like, women want to give. So if your vase is half full, giving, and then it's empty, what more do you have to give but that emptiness? And so then shout at our children who really just, most of the time, they just need something, love, attention, something. They're trying to get their needs met, and a lot of times they've tried several times before the annoying part happens. Have to get to the annoying part, like, to get the attention. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
no, it makes sense. Yes.
First I would say have a little bit of compassion with yourself. You are working, you said, full time, and figure out, I would ask you, do you feel like you're getting the self-care that you need to be giving from the overflow? Because if you're constantly giving yourself, this is the Rachel Hollis thing, if you constantly filling your vase, once the vase gets full, but you're still filling, what happens? you're giving from the
Space overflows.
and then you can give from the overflow. So when you feel your needs are being met, this is why, like, for a long time I was talking about self-care is just, it's not selfish. It's the best thing that we can do for our kids. And personal development is the next best thing we can do for our kids. Because once you understand your triggers, you can be less triggered. You trigger them when you're getting all of your emotions out and not stuffing them, because we have a habit of stuffing our emotions as women especially are silenced all the time. So, you know, I think we also learn as children to be seen and not heard. So all of these are factors in our explosions on kids. I think that one of my chapters is good moms don't lose their cool with their kids. So I do address that in the book. And I remember the day that I decided I wasn't going to spank my son anymore, because I realized that wasn't doing anything positive for him or for our relationship. Yeah. I spanked him to the point where my hand hurt and he wasn't reacting at all to it. I knew that I was spanking him out of my anger, my frustration of my situation in life at that moment, and not like he triggered me. Yeah. And I wanted him to hurt like I was hurting. Yeah. And I caught myself, and it's the best thing that happened because I haven't spanked him since. So that is something that I address. The working moms thing is also that's addressed.
It's interesting that you say that you were spanking him and you realized it was because of a time in your life that you were just reacting to him. And right now with, you know, the quarantine and COVID-19 and all that, I feel like I kind of just had an aha moment. I feel like it's my yelling at my son has been more often. Basically, my husband and I work for the same company. So he does a morning shift. I do the night shift. We swap the kid in the middle. We see each other 3 minutes a day. And we do this, you know? So, and I get 5 hours a day with my son. And I thought that it's his age, you know, he's 2, 3. This is how they're supposed to act. They're supposed to be annoying. They're supposed to test us. They're supposed to throw tantrums. But now that you said that you were spanking more during a harder time in your life, I kind of went, oh, maybe it's because I'm so stressed out right now and I get 5 hours a day with him. So that was a little aha moment for me just now.
How many hours a day do you get alone with yourself to do self-care at all?
About an hour and a half. I wake up at 5 to make sure that I have some time to myself before he wakes up. Because like Ray Ray says, if you're waking up when they wake up, you're already screwed.
And I'll be honest, during quarantine, I was getting up at 6 because everybody else around here gets up at 7. And then one day I was like, we don't have to go anywhere, so it doesn't really matter what time I wake up. You know, we don't have to get or leave, or we have no deadlines. It just kind of whatever. And then I woke up at 6 one day, and oh my gosh, I think that was the day I listened to Rachel's thing, and I was super productive. I cleaned out the shower that the litter box is in. Like, it was gross. And I did that. And there was no, I was waiting for my boyfriend to do that. I did that. I mopped the floor. I vacuumed, like all the things that I was like, I didn't want to do. And I was more productive with work and everything. So it was like, oh yeah, that's why I got up at 6. And then the next day he woke up at 5:30. I was like, are you kidding me? And he did. And the next day after that, he woke up at 5:32, and I was like, "No, we are tiring out your little body. Like we're going to ride the bikes. We're going to do things that expel your energy." And he slept till 8 the next day. Score.
Yes. So just a quick aside that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Are you doing the next 90-day challenge?
Yes.
You are? Me too. Oh my gosh. We're best friends now.
I know, right?
That's it.
So I watched a video with another life coach, and they were talking about mom guilt. And she felt guilty for leaving her son to go to this conference, which is a thing that moms feel guilty about, leaving their children ever. And it's like, please give yourself some alone time and some time to yourself. Like, you're a mom, but you didn't stop being a woman. You didn't stop being a woman. You didn't stop having needs because you're a mom. And so they did this exercise that was to help her get rid of her guilt. And really, they just they had her focus on her love for her son, which is great. By all means, focus on your love for your child. But had anyone done that exercise with me, that I would have spiraled, because the reason I feel guilty is because I love him. So the solution to the guilt is not loving him more.
Yeah.
Even getting in touch with my love for him. The solution to my guilt was realizing that I couldn't have predicted the future, and that I was doing the best that I could with the information that I had.
Yeah.
Because in my worldview, a 12-year-old girl watching my son with her mom at home isn't going to hurt my kid.
Yeah.
There's, and yet, and I just wrote a blog article for why men don't understand mom guilt. Because my boyfriend was like, that's the thing you should feel the least guilty about. And I'm like, yeah, that was the thing that I felt the most guilty about.
Yeah. I got to read it. How do I find that? How does a listener find that article?
So my website is AlysiaLyons.com. My name is spelled a little weird. It's ALYSIALYONS. So it's AlysiaLyons.com. My blog is called Makeup with the Mirror, because I'm a independent beauty consultant for the last my life.
For how long? You cut out?
For about 10 years, almost.
Nice.
And a half, yeah. And it was my brother's idea. He's like, you should call it Makeup with the Mirror. And I was like, I freaking love that idea. You should do like makeup tutorials and life coaching tutorials at the same time, like videotape yourself. And I was like, I'm out. I'm not that. But I'm a writer. I've been writing for as long as I could put two sentences together, and so my comfort zone is writing. Where a lot of people, that's not their comfort zone, but my comfort zone is writing. So I have a lot of information in my head that I want people to know, and the way that I can get that out is through writing in my blog and my book.
That's awesome.
I'm getting more comfortable on camera too, so we can videos soon.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I still pee my pants a little bit when I turn the camera on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, according to Sean, that never goes away. So.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been teaching virtual classes. I'm a spin instructor. And I mean, there's a little tiny bit when you're live, a tiny bit of this like, oh wait, no, I know what I'm doing when I'm teaching live, but something about Zoom, I'm like, they're going to see my gym. I don't know what it is. I don't know. There's something about it being on video where I'm like, it makes me a little more nervous than teaching in person.
For me, there's the camera, like I know what it is because I said or when I was 12 years old, I did something and I was physically attacked for doing it. So I learned the lesson real quick that when you say things that upset people, people attack you. And for whatever reason, it's specifically when I'm being recorded that I more of an issue. Like, so I don't mind being on, FaceTime talking with people, blah, blah, blah. But if you hit record, then I get there's a little trigger there, but it's getting less. Like I don't feel nervous right now. I'm like, you're a very good interviewer.
Oh, thank you.
So, I mean, getting into action really does kind of clear some of those fears.
Yeah. But really, editing, I will be awkward. I will record 15 minutes. This is no joke. I'll record 15 minutes for a 3-minute video. Just edit out. So once I learned how to edit, I'm still learning, but it's like I can make it look good. But if you see the clips from the original, you're like, what is wrong with this girl?
I have another group where I do a group coaching with another coach, and it's all writing centered. And we deal with writer's block mostly. And we did a 5-day challenge, how to overcome writer's block, that led up into this group coaching thing. And neither one of us knows how to edit. So it was like, whatever comes out. So, and that was kind of cool because I gave myself permission to be me, to make mistakes and just roll with it. And I have so much fun on videos with her, and when I give myself that permission, I have a lot more fun. So it's kind of have to remind myself of that.
I like that. Because editing kind of, I guess editing feeds into my perfectionism, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So like I have in my head how I want to be and how I want to sound when I'm talking to people, but it never comes out right, which is where the editing comes into play. But you're right. I like that, if you don't do a lot of editing, people can see that, you're just as awkward as they are. So
and I think that you end up attracting more people that wouldn't have that. I don't know. It's like, if you do something funny on a video, like what are the videos that get shared most? Is people do
funny ones. Yeah.
People doing crazy things. Like my favorite yoga YouTuber is Yoga with Adriene. And she is a goofball. She I don't know. She's so, you can tell she's real. Like she's not editing the stuff out. And maybe she does do a lot of editing that we don't see, but her dog will walk across her mat. She'll say, do your left foot instead when she means the right. And she'll make fun of herself for doing that. She'll sing a little song if she feels like it. And it's just cute. She's just adorable. And I like her because of that. Like everybody else feels too polished. And and I've watched like one other YouTuber on yoga. So everybody else.
I'll link her in the show notes for the peeps.
She's good. Yoga with Adriene. She did a 30-day thing. So, and she'll build you up if you're not a yoga person, which is awesome because I'm totally not. I'm trying to be, but
that's cool.
So I think we were talking about your new awareness of being in quarantine, and you're yelling at him more while in quarantine. Did you want to talk more about that?
Yeah.
A complete thought?
I think it was more of just an awareness. Like I'm working so much right now because, being a mom is work. Just because I'm at home doesn't mean I'm not working. And then I go to work and I come home at 10:30 I go to bed and I wake up at 5. So I know a lot of it is lack of sleep. And I don't know, it's just kind of an aha moment for me. I was just constantly in my head blaming it on his age, saying, oh, this is just his age, this is normal. But I think it's a combination of his age and my current situation, you know. And don't get me wrong, I am super grateful that I'm still working because there's a lot of people that aren't right now. So, yeah.
And it's stressful. You know, you were, I don't know how long you've been working, but you were stay at home for a while. And I would imagine that well, I guess I don't have to imagine because I've experienced it. There's an adjustment period.
Yeah.
You know, with going from being at home to being at work. And I remember a couple of times that I've gone back to work because I've mostly been a work from home mom for the majority of his life. Well, for the majority of his life, I've had jobs here and there, but for primarily I've been work from home. And I remember when he'd get sick and nobody could watch him, like daycare won't watch him. To watch him when he's sick. Like nobody wants to be around a sick kid. And I'm like, what do parents do? Like when they have to work and their kid is sick. And I'm like, oh, they've probably had more than, 3 weeks to figure it out. Cause it would always be, I'd go to work 3 weeks later, he'd get sick and then I'd have to.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's an adjustment period.
Yeah.
Going from work from home. And then there's so many things going on right now in the world with being shelter in place and the pandemic. And like, there's a lot of fear going on. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. There's parents that are, having to do their job and be a teacher and be a parent.
Yeah.
That was a huge adjustment period. I wrote a blog about getting angry with my son about school. And I don't remember what I wrote now, to be honest, but
that's okay.
But I mean, it was an adjustment being, learning to be his teacher. I'm learning so much about him, as a student that I didn't know before. I've never done homework with him because, I would have a babysitter 2 days a week, and both of the babysitters that I had would just do his homework for the week with him. So, which I appreciate so much, because if I'm away from him for however many hours, I don't want to spend the time that we have together doing homework.
Yeah.
But so now we're doing homework, and I had a really big trigger at the beginning of shelter in place and my job being non-essential. One of my things is connecting my person, who I am, to my performance. And even in our business, we say, there's the little oath that you take in the beginning, from this day forward, I am Mary Kay.
Yeah.
And so it's even embedded in the oath. You are your business. And so if my business is non-essential, then so am I. And it took probably the first 2 or 3 weeks to really detangle that. But even up until last week, there were aspects of that creeping up in my life, so
yeah,
hot mess. Trying to help each other.
Is there anything else that you want people to know? I mean, I'm not like famous or anything, and it's just like a startup podcast, I guess. And I thought mom guilt was a good topic to talk about because so many of us are drowning in it right now.
Especially with the pandemic. I mean, I'm someone that has been knee deep, chin deep. I'm like, knee deep's not deep enough. I've been chin deep into personal development for a minimum of 3 years. And I still spiraled in the beginning of like the pandemic got me. I'm not afraid of the virus. You know, it's not, it's all the other stuff that honestly, it boiled down to the non-essential, like that. I wrote a blog on that. Are you essential? Like, that's how I kind of got over that. But I know if it's affecting me, that people that aren't into personal development, how is it affecting other people? You know?
Yeah.
You know, because we are such creatures of habit. We don't pivot very well. And I know the person that I was 10 years ago, I couldn't even guess how bad I would be doing right now, because I identify as an extrovert because I love people. I'm just like you. I want to connect with people. I love talking to people, but I did it as a way to avoid being alone with myself. Because I didn't like who I was, and I didn't like what I said to myself when I was by myself. And I needed your approval to feel good about myself. I needed you to like me. I needed you to think good thoughts about me. Like I needed it. I think Sean has talked about, you know, you plugging yourself into someone else's socket when it's unplugged, like you're out of juice. And that was me. Like, my sister says that I'm Ariel the Little Mermaid. I want to be where the people are.
Do you want to see him dancing?
I do. I'm not a hoarder like she was, though. Except for books. I got my books.
Yes.
Anywhere that I am on video, there's books behind me.
That's good. I have toys right now, you know, but yeah. 3-year-old.
So I don't know how many of your listeners are moms, but you know, the thing that I would say to you, Katie, is, you know, be compassionate with yourself, because this time is crazy.
Yeah.
Toddlers are crazy.
Hell yeah.
You know, we're human. However you react to stress is how you react to stress until you change it.
Yeah.
You know, and like you're in the personal development world. You know, start diving into who you are and be curious with yourself and with your actions instead of judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you snap at him, why did you snap at him?
Rather than I'm a piece of shit.
Rather than I'm a shit who needs to be taken out to pasture, you know, like, because that's absolutely not helping the situation, because then you feel guilty, and then you beat yourself up some more, and then you do it again and beat yourself up some more. And it's this vicious cycle that's never ending until you end it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you know, my deep wound of, you know, the babysitter thing, like, one of the ways that I cope with things is I retreat. And so I kept imagining my son growing up and resenting me and coming back to me and saying all the things to me that I was saying to me. How could you be so stupid? Why didn't you protect me? Why was everything more important than me? Why was money more important than my safety? And so I started to retreat from him. I started protecting myself from the future pain. Right now. He would snuggle me, and I would let that happen for about 15 seconds before I pushed him away. Or I had to go do something, or the dishes needed to get done before, you know, something.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
And then you'd feel guilty about that, right?
How come I'm not as connected with my son as this person and as that person? And like, how come how come they have a better relationship with him than I do?
Yeah.
And, and I have a good relationship with my dad now, but I felt very disconnected from him as a teenager. And I absolutely didn't want that same kind of relationship with my son. And then I was creating it.
Yeah.
So
one thing I find interesting too is that we say all these horrible things to ourselves, and then a friend who's also a mom will say something about herself like that out loud, and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, you don't let your friends get away with talking to themselves like that. Why do we let ourselves get away with talking to ourselves like that? I have a good friend at work. She's going through a separation right now, and she came into work yesterday and she's like, I'm the worst mother in the world. I'm like, why would you say that? And she's all, because I just dropped my son off with his dad. It's like fresh. It just happened last week. I'm like, so you're a bad mom because you dropped your kid off with his dad. That makes a lot of sense. But to her, it makes sense. You know what I mean? So,
and one of
I don't know.
Favorite chapters in my book is good moms don't leave the father of their children. And just so everybody is aware, like, of how the book is set up, because it's obvious, like, when you're reading it, it's clear, but when I'm saying it out loud, good moms don't do this, then you might be thinking that I'm actually saying good moms don't do that. So the lie is that good moms don't leave the father of their children. And the chapter is about, my son's dad and I splitting up. And, there was a lot of guilt that came from that. Like, I didn't want my son to have step parents, and, I didn't want him to have siblings, and like all those I had step parents, I had step siblings, and I love them and I'm grateful for them now. But back then when I was a kid, I was like, I don't want these people around. Like, I think I'm quoted as saying, I don't like step people. I only like real people. Said that to my stepmom.
Aww.
Me anyway. But the reality is that the life that I have now, the relationship that I have now, is one that I want for my son. Mm-hmm. Relationship that I was in is not. And a lot of women have a pattern where they'll go from one man who's one way. They'll leave that man, or the relationship will end, or whatever the case may be, and they'll jump into a relationship with the exact same man. Yeah. The cycle repeats itself. And one thing that I found super interesting about myself is when I became a mom, I changed. Mm-hmm. I wanted what was best for him. And I realized that my son was going to want to be like the predominant man in his life. And I didn't want that to be his dad. Mm. Had his dad been willing to work with me on improving our relationship and improving who he was, like I was working on improving who I was, I would have stayed in that relationship. So my advice is not leave your dad, leave your significant other if it's a bad relationship, but don't stay together for the kids. Yeah. Because your kids need an example of a healthy relationship. And I think that that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is staying in a relationship for the kids. Yeah. Because what is that showing them?
Hate your spouse.
It's showing
Be miserable for the kids.
So many lessons inside stay together for the kids that are not healthy lessons. Yeah. So I actually started thinking, who would I be proud? Because I didn't have this good self-esteem for myself. Like, I didn't think that I was worthy of, I couldn't make a list of things that I wanted that were positive and for myself. But when I thought about who do I want my son to become, who would I be proud of my son becoming, I looked for those traits because I knew that he was going to learn to be like that.
Yeah.
And I'm 4.5 years into a relationship with a man that I would be more than proud of my son becoming. He's not perfect.
Awesome. Well,
but they just aren't.
the imperfections make them beautiful.
Love them through those.
Yeah.
But the way that he talks to my son, the way that he connects with my son, the way that he treats my son, and all of those things with me, beautiful. And that's what I wanted for him. I wanted things for him that I didn't know that I wanted before he was born. And had I known before, I would have picked a different baby daddy. But, those are those things that you do the best that you can with the tools that you have at the time and the awareness that you have at the time. And my son would be a different kid if he had a different dad. And I think my kid's pretty cool. So,
I think your kid's pretty cool too, with all your posts that you post about him.
It's freaking hilarious. I don't know if you saw the one yesterday. This is why it's so important for moms and parents to be in personal development for themselves, for their kids. My son yesterday was playing this video game, and it was really, really hard. This boss battle was super hard. And he was in tears telling himself, I can do it. I believe in myself. Straight tears. Like he was thick in the emotion. Disappointed in not being able to beat this boss. And, he came to me and he said, Mom, I just can't do it. And I said, sometimes it's okay to quit. If you really believe you can't do it, sometimes it's okay to quit. But the first thing you need to do before you decide is you need to calm down. You need to take a break. He took about a half an hour break. He didn't want to, but he set the time himself. I said 5 minutes if that's what you need. Like, you pick the time. Like, you do what you need to take that break. But you need to calm down because you're not thinking clearly right now. And he came back after half an hour and he beat it the first time he tried.
Wow.
Half an hour of calming down. And he had even somebody had even told him it's impossible for him to win that boss battle on Xbox, that he has to do it on the computer, and he won it on Xbox. So I don't, it's just like, to me, there's a older version of him where he was younger would have just quit and would have just had a complete meltdown, and the day would have been ruined. And, he would have said, I suck. I'm terrible. I'm this, that, and the other thing. But I taught him, probably one of my very first blog articles was about the things that we say to ourselves matter. And we were playing catch, and he kept saying, I can't catch, I can't catch, I can't catch. And I said, why don't you try saying I can catch? And so he said it a couple of times, and within maybe 3 times of saying it, he caught it like 20 times in a row without dropping it. And then a year later, we were playing catch again, and he said, I've got some amazing catching skills.
Oh, he caught on quick to that one.
He did. And that's true of our brain, is that, whatever you say, your brain says as you wish. So if you say I can't catch, your brain's as you wish.
As you wish.
Mm-hmm. I love that movie too.
I know. I hope some of my listeners caught that reference.
If they don't, they should just stop being immediately.
They should just stop listening.
Yeah. So I feel like we went all over the place in our topics, but
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think it's all important.
Yeah.
Personal development and working on yourself, especially as a parent, because they are watching the show. They are not listening to the lecture.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this is the perfect place to end this.
I think so.
At the end of each episode, I like to ask the same question,
Okay.
which is, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
Pick up a self-help book.
Amen. And read it. Don't just pick it up. Read it.
Just buy it. Just read it. I mean, let's see. I know we've talked about Rachel Hollis quite a bit.
Yeah.
So get out of.
I just finished that.
Get out of your own way. I haven't. I'm a couple pages in.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And then when I got this crazy schedule, I was like, I don't have time to read, so I'm going to get the audiobook. So I finished it at work.
I love audio books too so much.
Yeah.
I listen more than I read. I'm actually more of an auditory learner. So I feel like I catch on more. Rachel, I listened to both of Rachel's books, but I saw her husband's book in Walmart. So I was like, I want to read it that way. And then, because I have the book version too, of Rachel's books.
Yeah, me too.
Both. But there's another author that I love that's, if you don't want too self-helpy of a self-help book, You Are a Badass.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Amazing book to read. And then she wrote a second book called You Are a Badass at Making Money. So another good book to read. And I devoured both of those books, and they were paper and they were hard copy books. Like I devoured them, not just listening.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved both of those books. I don't know when or how or why self-help became something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
But the best gift you can give yourself is to learn to love yourself and to understand yourself and to get to know yourself. Like that's the best gift and the best piece of advice that I could possibly give to the world is pick up a self-help book, read it, figure out who you are, and go change the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alysia Lyons signing off. Until next time.